Bizarre Brain Comics. Hello, my comic book friends, and welcome to Bizarre Brain Comics. I'm Cary, your host, and this is where I like to take a look at some older comics, talk a little bit about the characters and creators, and examine the stories and the art. This time, we're going to have a look at one I don't think I've only covered, I think, a story with him once before. This is The Flash, number 301 from 1981. It says, is the Scarlet Speedster swift enough to prevent his boss from becoming a human atom bomb? Boy, guess not. So we'll see. Yeah. And this story was written by Cary Bates with pencils by Carmine Infantino and Bob Smith. And of course, Carmine Infantino goes way back to the very first Flash story. Back in 1956. It said The Flash is the name of several superheroes from DC Comics. The original, Jay Garrick, was created by Gardner Fox and Harry Lampert, appearing in Flash Comics number 1 in 1940. And there have been a total of 5 speedsters using the name Flash. The second, and the version from this book, is Barry Allen, and he is a forensic scientist for Central City Police Department. And his first appearance was in Showcase number 4 in 1956, which is generally considered the beginning of the Silver Age of comics. And he was created by Robert Kanigher, John Broome, and Carmine Infantino. Okay. And these two versions of the Flash, he first met in the Flash of Two Worlds, in Flash number 123 in 1961. And the Flash has never been by any means the most popular of DC's superheroes. He has had a certain level of popularity. He's had several solo titles, with various characters being the Flash. But he has given rise to 2 live-action TV series and a theatrical film. And I enjoyed all of those. Even though I seldom read Flash comics, I did enjoy. Surprisingly, how well written some of the episodes for the TV series was, and I enjoyed the Flash movie, even though it was flawed, but it's still an entertaining film. And of course, Carmine Infantino is our penciler here, and I liked his work from the 50s and the 60s and the sci-fi stuff that he did. Of course, Flash for several years, Batman, and everything else. But he spent several years in the 70s when he wasn't doing as much drawing because he was a bigwig executive at DC. I've forgotten what his title was, and then he left that and went back to drawing, and his style had altered somewhat over that time period. When he was doing the Star Wars monthly Star Wars title for Marvel, and he did the Flash here, and he did various other things, and I just never cared for his style the way it matured into this particular style. Now, it's not bad. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just that I personally didn't care for it as much. But his draftsmanship is fine. He's good storytelling. I think some of the current artists could probably learn a thing or two from him, as well as the writers with Cary Bates, showing how to craft a short form story. Of course, this is a complete story in one issue. It's one and done. I kind of like that, but with just an occasional 2 or 3 parter instead of these never-ending stories. And especially when you get some anthology stories anymore, and the writers just don't know how to craft. Apparently, don't know how to craft a short story, and they could take a lesson here in this. Now, of course, then it has a backup story, Firestorm. I'm not going to cover that one at all. But here's even though it's 3 panels, this is basically the splash page, and the beat goes off, and the story starts off with Barry Allen's boss, Captain Fry, leaving for work, and someone's hiding in his car, and he's snatched. Barry gets to work late, as usual. For the fastest man alive, he has a problem with getting anywhere on time. And he gets to work. He's been gone for days or something. And then there's a note for him in his locker. And this is where, and it's from Captain Fry from the day before. It says, "You're fired," basically. He's upset. He didn't tell anybody. And then they get word that Captain Fry has been he gets word about his mother, who has been this has been his excuse for a lot of his stuff being late, etc., and not showing up, was because his mother's in the hospital, has been for quite some time in a coma apparently. And I guess as she has just woken up, he goes to see his mother, and talks with his father a little bit, and then he gets word that the Captain Fry has been kidnapped, and he goes into action, turning into the Flash, and he goes and checks surreptitiously, kind of checks stuff out. And he's got an idea, because Captain Fry had recently had a pacemaker installed, I guess, or had that pacemaker installed before, and had to have the battery replaced. And he went and got info about that, because it knows it gives off certain frequencies. He does his detective work, and checks out all the people with that in town, and with that same type of pacemaker. Checks them all out, saves a couple people from injury. Then he says, because the last frequency he can track down is the captain. Goes to a boat where he is unconscious, but he's been drugged. There he is. The guys are trying to get away. He's right there. He catches the bad guys, the kidnappers, whisks them off, and saves the captain. Then the captain gets to work, and now Flash gets back. Barry Allen gets back to work, and he's telling his coworkers that he has been fired, and he's cleaning out his desk, etc. And then, but there's supposed to be something else going on there at the at City Hall or whatever. It's because of the growing threat of possible nuclear terrorism. They've having a demonstration of a device that will detect, and an alarm will go off with any nuclear device within a mile or something. See, all this time Barry has been saying, this just doesn't seem right. Something seems off in this kidnapping scheme. And then he deduces, because the captain is supposed to be here at that demonstration, and the alarm goes off. Flash is right there, grabs the captain and whisks him, and he deduces that a tiny nuclear device has been put into his pacemaker, set to go off, probably with some disruption of his heartbeat, and would have just blown up the entire. It was just tiny, so it would have just destroyed that building and everyone in it. But then they never would have instituted the use of that device, because thinking that somehow the device had been the cause of it. Well, he's zooming, and he says, and the captain says, "Then you better leave me, Flash. Take off and leave me out alone so it can go off." And it does it. Boom! It goes off. But this part is silly in the story. But he was going so fast, he managed, and they were vibrating so that they literally left the explosion behind, which really makes no sense to me at all. But that's the way it is. And he saves the thing, and then he gives Barry Allen credit for deducing, because he did, for deducing everything, and said Barry Allen saved his life. So Barry got his job back. He's visiting his mother. While he's visiting his mother in the hospital, his father is messing around with this gorgeous redhead. So that's for stuff, some future stuff. And but it turns out I don't think it's really his father involved in this. So then we have Howl Laughs the Hyena, Firestorm backup story. And I'm not going to go get into that one. But just focus on the Flash for this time around. So, as I said, it's if you're a Flash fan, it's a well told story, both visually and well written, and except for the goofy part about outrunning the explosion, which makes no sense. Otherwise, it was fine. It was a well-crafted story, which you don't see much very often anymore. Sometimes you do, but it's a well-crafted story, well drawn, and with good visuals. I mean, you can pretty much follow most of the story as one should. I mean, because he's got decades of experience at this time. He knows how to tell a story visually, and he did. And I wish some of the others would, because sometimes in some of the newer stuff I can't tell what's going on. So that's all I've got to share with you this time, is the Flash. And so please like, share, subscribe. Do leave your comments down below. What was your favorite version of the Flash? Or which creative team, which artist, what have you. Anything like that. And remember, comics are art.